Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and Happy New Year as 2020 finally comes to an end. But before 2021 takes over completely, let's take a look at the biggest events in motorsport from every month of 2020. It was a crazy year and a lot of crazy things happened. So with that, sit back, relax, and let's begin.
Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
January. Not a lot really happened in January. It looked like we were going to have a good year of motorsport ahead of us. Maximilian Günther won his first ever Formula E race for BMW at Santiago in Chile. Johan Kristoffersen teased a return to World Rallycross. He would be champion by the end of the year. Aston Martin left for DTM after one season. Thierry Neuville won at Monte Carlo for the first time. But the biggest news for January was Lawrence Stroll announcing he had bought a stake in Aston Martin and was rebranding the Racing Point team from 2021. His son Lance Stroll was probably thrilled, but less so was WEC fans, who surely saw the writing on the wall for the Aston Martin Valkyrie hypercar project, which was ditched by the roadside in favour of Formula 1. Hopefully they'll have some success, or the whole thing may turn into a disaster. February. Not a lot happened in February. Elflin Evans won for Toyota in Sweden in the WRC, and Ryan Newman was seriously injured at the Daytona 500 after a massive last lap crash. Luckily he was okay, only missed 3 races and had a disappointing season, and is set to make the grid in 2021. March. Nothing important happened in March. Former British touring car race winner Rob Collard announced he was switching to the British GT Series, which he won alongside Sandy Mitchell in a Lamborghini Huracan GT3 for Barwell Motorsport. Oh, and also there was a massive pandemic that destroyed everything. Formula 1 almost went ahead, but after some McLaren personnel were tested positive, they sensibly called it off, followed by every category of motorsport announcing delays and cancellations for the 2020 season. Nothing was exempt anywhere in the world. It seemed like there would be no motorsport at all in 2020, but we had a much reduced calendar in most series, as well as Formula 1 turning up at tracks they wouldn't normally touch. After March, nothing else really matters. April. With all the on-track action postponed or cancelled, 2020 became the year of the e-sport. In motorsport circles, with the best of the best rubbing arms alongside e-sport stars, footballers, YouTubers and celebrities, in various e-racing series in various forms. All the motorsports seem to have their own e-series. Carl Larson said a bad word and sent his career tailspinning into a ditch. He has been given a drive for 2021 though. We also lost one of the greatest motor racing legends of all time with the death of Sir Stirling Moss. But probably the biggest news was Audi leaving the DTM after the 2020 season. They are one of the longest serving and most successful marquees in DTM history, but after 2020 they would leave it behind. This was shocking for a number of reasons, not least they were still being successful with Rast taking another championship. DTM is going to change drastically in 2021, which isn't a bad thing. Honestly, the DTM is dull and incredibly hard to watch week in and week out, and Audi leaving forced their hand. May. Daniel Abt was the idiot of the month for May after pretending to race in a charity esports race when actually he handed the controls to someone else and was sitting on the couch piling Cheetos down his throat. He was sacked by Audi, but managed to secure a drive with Neo for the rest of the season, but won't be coming back for 2021. But this was the month Formula 1 announced the start date for the season, with the Austria opener set to happen in June. Finally, the clouds were clearing and the start line was in sight. The Jaguar I-Pace Trophy was announced to be scrapped after the season finished, but the biggest news by far was that of Sebastian Vettel leaving Ferrari after 2020. I think people forget that even though Vettel has had a few bad seasons, he is still an F1 legend, a 4-time champion, and leaving Ferrari is a big deal, especially moving to the smaller and in theory further down the field Aston Martin. It'll be interesting to see how he does. June. A few ideas are being thrown around to have Grand Prix at tracks not on the original calendar, such as Imola and Mugello. Bubba Wallace was or wasn't a victim of a hate crime. It's honestly hard to tell with no one agreeing over what really happened, and it's actually kind of difficult to look up without messing up your Google search history. It may or may not have been a door pulley that had been in place for more than half a year, or a noose left as a threat or as an insult, but either way it was a messed up story, and racing finally returned in Europe, except for W Series because it got cancelled. July. Well, Bottas won the Austrian Grand Prix and looked like he just might be able to take the fight to Hamilton. This lasted a week before everything returned to normal. This was more of the month of the driver change. Vettel was leaving Ferrari. Alonso laughed off suggestion he was going to replace Ricciardo. He will replace Ricciardo for 2021. Renault protested Racing Point's Mercedes lookalike car and got them docked 15 points in the Constructors' Championship, which would end up costing them 3rd place. Biggest news, probably Perez catching the virus and being replaced by Hülkenberg, who then couldn't start the British Grand Prix. August, Takuma Sato pulled off a big shock and won his 2nd Indy 500. The likeable former F1 driver qualified 3rd for the race and ended up taking a famous 2nd win in an entertaining race. 4 Extinction Rebellion protesters were arrested after breaking into Silverstone to unfurl a banner. At least they didn't run on the track like that other loony who got arrested at Silverstone. Honestly, there wasn't a lot of news in August. A lot of arguing about Racing Point's brake ducts. It wasn't that interesting. Moving on. September. Scott McLaughlin won his 3rd V8 Supercars title in a row. What turns out to be the last one for now as he moves on to the IndyCar Series in 2021. Lewis Hamilton and Techeetah launched Extreme E teams. Claire Williams sold her share in the Williams Formula 1 team. And Dorilton Capital took charge, meaning no members of the Williams family are a part of the Williams team, which is kind of sad. It'll be interesting to see what the new owners do. Hopefully they won't change the name on the doors and we lose another historic Formula 1 team. October, Saudi Arabia was announced as part of a 23 race calendar for Formula 1 in 2021. Instantly the calls of blood money to hide their human rights abuses were thrown up and were completely ignored by the FIA. This was also the month Haas announced that both Grosjean and Magnussen would be leaving the team after 2020. Kinda sad to see them go, but this wasn't really a surprise. Scott McLaughlin made his IndyCar debut at the end of the season with a seat for 2021 waiting for him. This means no McLaughlin or Penske in V8 Supercars in 2021, adding to that series' troubles. In WRC, we saw the Ypres rally called off because of the pandemic, and in BTCC, Matt Neal hinted he may call time on his 30-year career. But the biggest news was the announcement of Honda leaving Formula 1 for the 1000th time, and Red Bull needing a new engine supplier for 2022. They've suggested they'll keep going with the engines developing in-house, which will be interesting to see how long they manage that for. Red Bull as a fully in manufacturer is also a good thing for Formula 1, as otherwise it'll be just Mercedes, Renault and Ferrari left. November. It was announced that the W Series would race as part of the Formula 1 calendar for 2021, a big boost to the exposure levels the series desperately needs. Audi will quit Formula E after 2021, later BMW would announce the same thing. The last rounds of the World Rallycross Championship were cancelled, giving the championship to Johan Kristoffersson. The Vietnam Grand Prix was scrapped for 2021, meaning we may sadly never see a race in Hanoi. The Grosjean crash at Bahrain, which would be the end of his Formula 1 career, but thankfully he survived and will recover, hopefully getting a race seat somewhere else in the future. But the big fireball that engulfed him was terrifying, and the sheer amount of damage done to the car makes it a miracle he survived. December. Sergio Perez taking his first win, and later replacing Alexander Albon at Red Bull for 2021 in a shocking piece of news even I didn't think would happen. Yuki Tsunoda replaces Daniel Kvyat at AlphaTauri, and Lewis Hamilton won his 7th Formula 1 championship. This has been a weird year, and hopefully 2021 starts to lead us back to normality. So motorsport can continue uninterrupted into the future. But 2021 is already shaping up to be a special year. So thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, leave a like and a comment. Have a great 2021.